It's going to be amazing as a play-in game. I think the ratings on that should be through the roof, right?
Well, I want to do a salute to Marv Albert.
Well, the Marv Albert thing is huge. I told
you that thing would get him in trouble eventually with the woman in the room. I knew it would catch up to him.
24 years later, it really kicked his ass.
Yes, it did.
So you just can't outrun that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
I think I told you the first time I ever saw Marv Albert, obviously not being growing up in the greater New York area, was him doing boxing on Sports World. I think it was the first time I ever heard Marv Albert's voice.
I don't want to tell you how long ago it was the first time I heard it.
Well,
oh boy,
I just read. Well, he was the voice of the Rangers in '65. He became the voice of the Knicks in '67. Yeah. You would have been 12 years old at that time, I believe.
Well, we moved to New Jersey from Cleveland in 1960, early '69.
Okay,
right after my. They still talk about it. My bar mitzvah in Cleveland in 1960.
Yes, the legendary Krantz bar mitzvah. Yes.
So,
and then I understand you had some sort of proclivity or affinity for the medium of radio.
Yeah. So Marv was already the man.
Yeah. And then David Letterman blew him up.
I really want to talk about that anomaly in the NFL schedule where I can't remember who it is. Somebody plays somebody 2 weeks in a row.
It's crazy.
It hasn't happened for 30 years.
It does need to be addressed, and it certainly needs to be addressed on this show.
It does.
More than anything else, it needs to be addressed on this show ad nauseum.
Well, you can pretend to ignore it, buddy. You can pretend that it doesn't mean anything. Go ahead. Go ahead. Look the other way. We're running.
Ready when you are.
I got this fantastic coffee that I've had in the freezer for 2 hours, and it is perfect consistency right now.
You're a big fan of that, aren't you?
I've done it for a while here. All right.
I like it. It's where you need it to be.
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
Yep.
It is the Brad and Britt cast. It is our first one for this week. Believe me, the weekend was as long for you as it was for us. And let's get right into what has changed in America since we last did the Brad and Britt cast, which is maskomania.
Sure.
Okay. And I want to start with, and I Facebooked this earlier today, and for the sake of the argument, Britt, let's pretend that what Ricky Schroeder and Scott Baio have to say about anything means anything. Let's pretend. Okay.
Let's do it. Yes, I care. I give a shit about either of those guys because it is 1987. Please go ahead.
And by the way, in 1987, wouldn't have mattered either.
Didn't care. Charles been in charge of these nuts. That's what you need to get in charge of. Go ahead.
Right. So Chachi, who was supportive of Ricky Schroeder, who's a complete ass. And before I posted, I wanted to check myself and make sure that Ricky Schroeder was a right-wing Trump fuckface, and he is.
It takes 5 seconds to verify that.
Right. But you don't want to ever post because what if I'm wrong?
Don't go off half-cocked.
Right. What if he's a charter member of the ACLU right. But anyway, so Ricky Schroeder walks into a Costco, or attempts to, in Southern California. And if you know anything about what we've seen in America the last 4 days, and you're trying to keep up with the CDC guidelines, which now essentially say, and they used bad language and they used bad timing and they were too abrupt, and we can get to that later on.
Sure.
In saying that you don't need to wear a mask anymore, either inside or outside, if you're vaccinated. And by saying it that way, okay, you've already opened up 25 off-ramps for liars,
oh yeah,
anti-vaxxers,
that's true,
frauds, and bullshit artists. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that a large percentage of those people will, by definition, be Trumpers, right? They'll be Trumpers. So Ricky Schroeder gets into this fight, and of course, he is quote unquote filming it. I'm going by what I read because I always have to use the word film. You can't use recording.
Was he using? Brad was using 35 millimeter. Was Technicolor involved with this? How was he filming it?
No, it was an old 8 millimeter.
Oh, okay.
Like Dad had in '62. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Like Bob Crane used to capture, his sex capades back in the '60s and '70s.
Like if you watch The Wonder Years or something like that, and the father pulls out that's what he filmed. What he was doing, and he gets into this stupid smackdown with the Costco employee who is just doing what he was supposed to do, which was still enforcing or attempting to the rules that in California, Southern California, LA, wherever, are still in place. And the CDC went out of its way to say we're not superseding local rules around the country. Right. For instance, in North Carolina, Roy Cooper immediately went along with the CDC. So at Costco in North Carolina, any of them now, they have lifted their rules. And Costco was the first one, if you remember, back in this March, April, to say you need a mask to come in. And they're the first ones to follow the national rules in states that allow it and go along with it. But this is not North Carolina we're talking about in the important Ricky Schroeder case. He's in California, and they have not lifted their rules yet. So he just starts going nuts on this guy. He just starts screaming at him. You're going to listen. These people are Nazis. These medical Nazis. Fuck you. Blah, 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 blah. On and on he goes. He gets aid and comfort on Facebook from Scott Baio, who, as we know, not only is a right-wing Trump fuckface, he was at the convention, right? He's spoken publicly, right? And so Baio, Jesus, says on Facebook, the Costco manager employee said, it's the law to wear the mask. And then in capitals, he goes, it's not the law. It's a mandate from dictators. On and on they go. The weekend passes. Ricky Schroeder backs down. He backs down and then issues a fake apology. If anyone at Costco was offended by what I said, I'm sorry. That doesn't count. But he gets the benefit of the doubt with headlines like Ricky Schroeder apologizes. He didn't apologize. He did not apologize. When you throw in the, if I offended you, I apologize. No, you didn't just offend. You were a dick. You were an asshole. You apologize and you don't put qualifiers or commas and then other statements after the apology. No. So with that all in mind, and if you have anything to say, I will step aside here and let you speak. Just and let's confine it here to the Ricky Schroeder Scott Baio moment, and then we'll stretch out. Go.
No, you're fine. Keep rolling. I don't want to kill your momentum on this one odd situation where I'm not going to try to step in and step on you. Keep on rocking.
Well, there's nothing to step. It's funny because I was thinking about going to Costco. We're here in North Carolina, and since Costco was one of the first stores last week to say back to normal, I was thinking it had nothing to do with my decision to go. I go every couple weeks, and I'm about at that point, and I didn't go. And I thought it was just kind of weird that Costco, of all places, and there are a few, I think Trader Joe's was even ahead of Costco in saying oh, you don't have to wear a mask. And that really was weird to me because Trader Joe's is the most crowded store I can imagine. The aisles are
in terms of retail space, that like dollars per square foot, whatever that thing is, they just jam it all in there, don't they?
They jam, yeah, they do. But okay, fine. And as one of the elites, and by the way, you're an elite too. You're vaccinated.
Oh, It's unbelievable. Yeah. I went and I got something jabbed in my arm for free. Wow. That's amazing.
You're what is it now? 31% of everyone in America is
demand
vaccinated,
demand has plateaued. We're begging people to go. We're giving them money. We're giving them drinks. We're giving them everything.
We're still adding a couple million people a day, but it's not 4 or 5 million like it was for a few weeks. But okay. But for us, when the CDC says that just kind of gives the vaccinated folks the green light to start living their lives much, much closer to normal. That being said, I went to the gym over the weekend a couple times, the Planet Fitness. And they've had, of course, a mask rule since the day they reopened. They were closed for a long time, and then they reopened a couple months ago. And all the times I've been there, everybody abided by the rules, blah, blah, blah. And they still had the mask sign up there over the weekend. Please wear a mask. But about half the people now were not wearing masks in there. But I'm vaccinated. And I go, all right, you know what? That's going to be the price you kind of pay. Mm-hmm. But that's not the real issue. It's not about people like me and elites like you who are vaccinated.
Right.
I think the problem is that you have given implicit license to the free riders, to the non-vaccinated, to act just like we, the vaccinated, and not wear masks anywhere under the cover of the CDC says you don't have to wear a mask anymore, even though they went out of their way to say, yeah, you don't have to wear a mask anymore if you're vaccinated. But they forget that. It's kind of like the way the Second Amendment gets read, right?
Right.
That you have the right to bear arms, and they leave the malicious shit out, right? So so you have the right not to wear a mask if you're vaccinated, but they leave that part out. Because if you're not vaccinated, yes, technically you have the right not to wear a mask, but you are now going to be part of a group of people who are unmasked now and unvaccinated and circulating among yourselves, pretending that everything's going to still be okay. I haven't caught it till now. I didn't die. I made it through. And
let me ask you this.
That's my take.
Well, this is where I will stop you. The free riders were always going to be a problem. The free riders were always going to be people that tried to hide in the bushes and then ducked out and said, I'm in line. Give me some cake, whatever, How do you deal with those people anyway? They're going to be selfish bastards. They're going to try to, as you say, come along for the ride. I don't know how you deal with those folks anyway. Realistically.
Well, and again, there are things we can say here that we couldn't say in polite company on broadcast radio or anything like that.
Right.
But we really need some prominent anti-vax celebrities and politicians to catch COVID right now and die from it. That would help. That might be a little bit instructive.
Who's on your list? Who's on your list? James Woods, John Voight. Well, I wish Tucker Carlson hadn't taken it, but we know everybody at Fox has been vaccinated. So Tucker Carlson,
forget that. They're all vaccinated and they're lying about it. They're lying by omission. We know that. We know they're all vaccinated.
Everybody from the top of the penthouse at that building all the way to the mailroom, everybody's been vaccinated, but they bitch about it and talk about it. It's mind control and Joe Biden sucks and blah, 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 blah. Right. But yeah, they're the ones that need to catch it and die. Like Tucker Carlson immediately needs to get it and just get an iron lung for about 6 weeks and then perish. But that's not going to happen. So yeah, I don't know who we need to. I don't know who.
Wasn't there actually a picture of Rupert Murdoch himself getting the shot pretty early on? I'm pretty sure there was. So they're all vaccinated.
Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell needs to get it right now.
The MyPillow guy.
Yeah,
I'll bet you $1 zillion. The MyPillow guy is another. He was vaccinated and will just not say anything about it. But the fact that in the Scott Baio and the Ricky Schroeder articles, they don't talk about whether they're vaccinated. See, because if you were vaccinated, okay, if you were vaccinated and you were in the exact same position that they found themselves in Southern California, walking into a Costco where the local rule superseded the national decision by the CDC, you would include in your rant against the Costco employee, hey, I'm vaccinated. I don't need any but he never said that. There's none of that there. So what does that tell you? Either one, he's a complete idiot and is not vaccinated, right?
Right.
And therefore, that proves the point that masks at minimum are still needed in situations where there are masses of crowds, because you can assume if you're a dick and you would go into a large store and not be vaccinated and refuse to wear a mask, or the rule would be lifted and you don't wear a mask, then it's just complete proof that you need to keep the mask mandate in place until we really do reach 75 or 80%. And even at that point, you still would have people who have the virus circulating in them and maybe shedding it, and folks who are unvaccinated would still be vulnerable. Here's some breaking news. I know this is no, it's not a 100% perfect vaccine. Nobody ever said it was.
No,
nobody ever said it was.
That's
but it's
correct.
Damn good. It
is.
Works pretty damn well. And even in these cases of the outliers, Bill Maher, New York Yankees, notice that none of them are showing any kind of serious symptoms at all. They're not ending up in the hospital on a ventilator. So it isn't that the vaccine doesn't work and proof is that the Yankees and Bill Maher got it. It's proof that the vaccine does work.
Right.
Because remember, the vaccine was never about you can never get it.
Yeah.
It was never about you could never get it. It was you most likely won't get it. And if you did get it, you would be less likely to end up dead or on a ventilator in a hospital somewhere.
Having said that, I've heard so much hand-wringing over the past several days about, oh, the CDC shouldn't have done this and they were very unclear. I don't find it to be that unclear. I don't find it to be that ambiguous. I mean, here's what the guidance is. And I don't know what your personal take on this. I'm going to continue to wear a mask for a while in a store and enclosed environments. I'm going to continue to do that because I just feel that that's appropriate and that I'm not a dick. Now, this is when it's probably going to become like a huge political issue as to whether you wear the mask or not. And if you do wear the mask, you're for socialism and Joe Biden and all this other shit. And then if you're not, then you're for freedom and you're for Donald Trump and for, bearing arms and you love America and shit like that.
Wait a minute. Well, let me just take what you just said and really stretch it into a triple reverse projection extreme move. And I agree with you. I have no problem continuing to wear my mask in stores. And if I go to Costco today or tomorrow, I'll still wear it. I'll probably take it off a little bit. I'll be a little bit more casual with it because I really don't have to worry about it. But chances are that at a certain point, people like you, people like me, who might wear a mask, maybe in a situation that some people might think is completely unnecessary, inside a store where they've had the rule in place and then changed for weeks and months that you don't need to wear a mask, and you're still wearing a mask. Somebody's going to come up to you, possibly, although you're a big enough guy. They don't approach usually people like you.
Yeah, I invoke white privilege.
They're going to make way. They're going to trash you.
Yeah,
they're going to trash you for wearing a mask.
Well,
and these will be ready. These will be unvaccinated people. Yeah. They will be pretending
correct
that they are holding some kind of high road. We definitely hate on the Brad and Britt cast the phrase "out of an abundance of caution."
Yeah.
But that's really what this is still all about. And I think the CDC's mistake was that it looks like, and it reads like, and it feels like they just threw their hands up in the air and said, oh, fuck it already.
Fuck it.
Okay?
We tried. We
Now,
tried.
they say it's the data shows that they're on sound ground, and they are, in a world of honest people, in a world of decent human beings, but we're not. They're not. People who are refusing to get vaccinated are they're indecent here. They're doing something that is so antisocial that it doesn't even exist in the dictionary.
Is it?
It doesn't exist. There's no definition of there's a mass epidemic in the world. There's a cure, and you don't want it. Okay, it doesn't exist. No one's ever written about that before. Didn't exist.
Right.
But we've got it now, and I just think that they set it up so that you're making it very difficult on healthcare workers and people like that who have heroically powered their way through this for 14, 15 months. And now you're saying, oh, no masks. And I know in hospitals and medical, you're still supposed to wear masks and stuff. But this has kind of opened the floodgates to people questioning everything about masks. And if you, roll back the clock, before there was a vaccine, semi-intelligent people above the level of a frog, understood that our best protection against the spreading of the virus was to avoid human contact, and outside of that, keep your distance, and outside of that, definitely be wearing a mask. And I feel, not that we're at the 1 yard line about to score a touchdown, we're at about the 20. We got about 20 yards to go here.
It's the red zone. We're still in the red zone.
We're in the red zone, but this, to me, opens the potential for the spreading of coronavirus unnecessarily. Not that it was ever necessary to spread, but it's like we've got it right in our hands here. We can do this. We can get it done. And they're getting soft here right now. Well, I know, so the kids can go to camp. And look at this. All these children are unvaccinated right now.
Right.
A large percentage of the unvaccinated are based on age. It isn't just politics. It's nobody under 18. Very few. A few of the 12 to 18s are now vaccinated, but not that many. So mostly under 18, the kids aren't vaccinated.
That's correct.
And I believe the number is about 300 have died in that age group. Okay, that's not a very big number. It's a big number when it's your kid. Okay, if you're 1 out of the 300, it's a big number. And
that's where we live, and it's true of areas around here. This is the New York Times, and that's the latest. We're still at a very high risk in this county of contracting it. Obviously, it's still there. There's a very high risk here in Guilford County and the surrounding counties. Obviously, as you said, if you're vaccinated,
I got a problem with the Times. I have a problem with the Times. Okay,
please.
What it says, and they supposedly update this around the country for every county.
Yeah.
It says tracking coronavirus in Guilford County, North Carolina, where we are. Because of a very high COVID, unvaccinated people are at a very high risk. And they have very high risk in red letters. And then below it says vaccinated people are at lower risk.
Correct.
Could there be a more generalized?
Well, you have to.
It's bullshit, though, Britt.
You have to.
We're not at a lower risk, Britt. We're at almost a zero risk.
Okay, yeah, that's
just
fair.
A lower risk, and no, there's no nuance there.
You're criticizing them for being too. You're criticizing them for being too cautious. And again, you have to dumb it down for the idiots. You have to, because somebody's going to go no, because the New York Yankees got it and Bill Maher got it. So but you're right. There it is. If you do get it and you've been vaccinated, you get over it more quickly, and a lot of times you're asymptomatic. But yes, you do have to dumb it down for people, and maybe
I would assume that the New York Times, which I pay $18 a month to get too, so I can beat them up. I can beat them up. I assume they have an editorial attacking the Centers for Disease Control for even considering
Yes,
the lifting
Tucker.
of any kind of mask mandate, right?
Yes, Tucker. They have have that editor. It's opinion piece today.
But I think that I think they missed the mark with that. You're just well, you know what? That isn't going to encourage anybody to get the vaccine, is it? Well, if you get the vaccine, you're just at lower risk. Oh well, fuck it. I haven't gotten it yet. Fuck it. I'll just. It does not help. It does not help.
The world is not divided into those two people who are like, well, I'm on the fence, but if we're still at a high risk, I don't see the point. That's not how the world is working right now. The world is working like this. I can either get a free vaccine that has zero side effects to me and will improve my life, my health and keep me vaccinated, or I can spend $20 on a fake card that's going to show that I got vaccinated. Guess what's going to happen? Guess what's going to happen over the next 4 to 6 weeks as people want to go to restaurants and get drunk? Hey, look, I'll pay $20 to the kid down the street to doctor up a card for me so I can show it on my phone and I can go into Chili's and I can have unlimited margaritas.
I have some news for you.
Yeah.
So far, there are no private businesses in this country that have done what you just said.
So far.
No shirt, no shoes, no proof of vaccination, no service. The only thing that I know of that's even close to that, apparently, is what's the remnants of the Grateful Dead called now? What do they call themselves?
Oh, they call themselves the Dead. They were the Dead, and then they were the Rat Bastards or something like that.
And I think they're putting on a concert at Wrigley Field.
Yeah,
and they have said you must show proof of vaccination to get in. So the man who in all of our collective memories symbolized health, cleanliness, and godliness, right. Jerry Garcia's namesake group, they're the only ones that we know of. And I don't think there are any other concerts, any other sporting events that have said no vaccination proof, no admission.
Well, we seem to be on the honor system. Are you comfortable with being on the honor system?
No, of course not. Fuck no. I want vaccination cards. I want vaccination proof. I absolutely want it. It's got to be a secure system that just like when you get your ticket through Ticketmaster and you get the barcode square thing, whatever the fuck that is, the QSR code. And you should be able to get that, but you have to be able to get it from your health department or wherever you got the shot. And it can be done. It can be done. We do it with getting on airplanes. I'm sorry. You only get to make those analogies when you're a right-wing fuckface trying to justify voter ID, right?
Exactly.
Right? It doesn't count for this. It doesn't count for a disease that could wipe out mankind. We can't do that. That's infringing on my freedom. Fuck you. It's not about your freedom. It's about saving the whole damn world. And
it's the Philo Festival. Is Bob Weir and the Wolf Brothers, or I guess that's how you pronounce that guy's name. He was Jerry Garcia's guitar player, Bob Weir. Yeah. Also featuring Sammy Hagar, David Crosby, Stephen Marley, and various others, including John Popper from Blues Traveler and Butch Vig. These are all people that are going to be. I think I'd rather have COVID. Wait a minute. Now that I look at that line,
sounds like a bad line, huh?
No, I kid.
Doesn't sound like
I kid. I always just. I'm like you. I despise the Grateful Dead. I always hated the Grateful Dead. I thought they were just terrible and dreadful. And maybe that's one of the, if we say as one of the after effects of COVID-19 is you're going to start liking Grateful Dead music, people will go out, oh my God, I got to get vaccinated now. Fuck this. Where do I get the needle jabbed in me?
But aside from discussing the musical component here,
sure,
I think it's pretty laudable. This is what we want. We want this. So. We want this in our life. I want it in my life. And the first right-wing piece of shit, a local guy like John Hardister, to name someone, some local Republican or state Republican or some state senator piece of shit from Horseface, North Carolina, in a county I've never heard of, to say that a vaccination card, a vaccination passport, any attempt to do that is equivalent to Nazis making Jews wear stars, is going to get punched. They're getting punched real hard, okay, because it's not the same thing. And don't even go there. But let's count the moments until that happens, if it hasn't already happened somewhere somehow. Somebody's probably already done that.
And then the cries of Mark of the Beast, and it'll be equated to the tattoos on the Jews in World War II.
I actually want a tattoo on my forehead that official one that's okay.
Any other thoughts on this topic before we move on? Well, I just feel like, and again, this is predictive and you can't really prove it. I just feel that there are going to be all sorts of people who are trying to fake these fucking cards to try to get into restaurants if they have to.
That's certainly,
so
there's no doubt. That's going to be part of it. It comes down. But I just think that what the CDC did, they made a mistake in not giving people time, right? You should have said, here it is, the middle of May. You should have said, June 20th, we will make another decision on lifting all mask mandates for people who are vaccinated. And we think it's going to happen. And if the localities want to start preparing for that, just anything, but, one day it's one thing and the next day it's another thing, because that's what gives the doubters and the hesitants and the anti-vaxxers more ammunition to say the CDC doesn't know what it's doing, and they've knuckled under to some sort of public pressure, which of course they completely deny.
Right.
But the fact that the question gets asked is the problem. The fact that it has to be asked is the problem. And Rochelle Wolinski, the head of the CDC, is a dreadful spokesperson for them. She is terrible. She is terrible on television.
I think she's a tremendous doctor, and as far as the whole communicating,
she is the prototype of the person who, when she was on TV as an expert before Biden won the election and she became the head of the CDC, she was a good person to go to for information.
Right.
But boy, once you become part of the government, your ass tightens up and you get hesitant and you fudge and you never answer a question. You never, ever answer a question. The question will be, why did the CDC move too quickly to lift these rules, Dr. Wolinski, head of the CDC? And her answer will not be, yes, we moved too fast, or no, we didn't move too fast. It will be, well, we looked at the data and we came up with the policy that we're implementing right now. I didn't ask you that. I did not ask you that.
That was not the question.
That's how they speak. And this is truly a both sides do it component, where you become part of the government, and in your mind, when you answer a question, you're thinking, what is so-and-so going to think of what I said?
Right. And how are they going to pull the sound bite out of this thing and make me look like shit? That's all. I get that. I understand it. But she's bad. Any thoughts? I mean, just any quick takes on what's going on in Gaza? This continues to be a huge problem between Hamas and there's some huge problems there. And then Joe Biden is being called upon to try to fix things for about the 7 millionth time for an American president. Any quick thoughts on that?
I think you send back Jared Kushner. He was this close.
I know. Trump really had peace in the Middle East, and then it was just it's been all blown apart. This story did catch my.
I will say this. This is one thing. We don't have to dive into the details of this, because people actually don't want to talk about it. No. They're not interested in us talking about it,
and they don't really have like a super insightful take. Nobody's got a real solution for this.
There's nothing new. We're thousands of years into this, or going back to 1948 if you want to go to the modern era. But I'm going to go with what I read from Tom Friedman over the weekend in his
He's a fairly smart individual,
which alleges, and I was thinking of this last week when this first started, Benjamin Netanyahu, the four-time prime minister of Israel, is in so much trouble politically and legally.
Yeah, he's
got so much shit knocking at the door. He makes Matt Gaetz look like a rookie. Okay, Netanyahu's got all kinds of enemies. A lot of people hate him. He is apparently a very corrupt individual. The whole thing, and there is nothing that a leader like that might not do in a situation like he's in that would galvanize public opinion to him than get into an armed military conflict with a dreaded enemy. And I don't want to think that that's partially behind this, because you can say immediately, well, they're shooting rockets into Tel Aviv. What's he supposed to do? Or another one, I'm going to blow my own head off if I hear someone say, Israel has the right to defend itself. Yes.
Really?
I didn't know that. We had no. Please say that again. Haven't heard that before.
Are you aware that I breathe air? Did you know that? Yeah. I breathe air.
And that's not the issue. But Netanyahu, he is a crook. He's a bad guy at this point.
Well, for 24 years, with 24 years, I've heard the phrase "wag the dog" every time a politician, particularly a Democrat, gets in trouble. And I'm like, but no, you can't say that about Netanyahu, because it's blah, blah, blah. If you do that, then you're on the side of the terrorists. No, I mean, obviously, what you're saying is true. He's in all kinds of trouble. He's corrupt as shit. He's flailing all over the place, and this is a way to galvanize any kind of support for him. But by the way, it's not working.
Right. Well, but how many times do we have to have these flare-ups? And they're, it's like the Israeli Palestinian Hamas cicada thing. Every 7 years, you're guaranteed for it to come back.
They burrow up from the ground, and then
they come up, and it's there. And there is nothing that the Palestinians or Hamas or whoever is trying to drive Israel into the sea. There's nothing that any of these groups like more than to have Israel use all of its military power and kill civilians, which they're not trying to do, but they will, because the Palestinian thing, the Hamas thing, is to put the military assets in apartment buildings and in residential areas. And the Israelis claim we've got the technology to find the shit. And of course, no, they don't. There's no such thing. It's never going to be perfect. So therefore you have.
You tell me the military exercise in your lifetime that's ever happened where a civilian wasn't killed. You tell me, because I'll wait.
And they love that. They love that, because that just feeds their sense of grievance. And they're probably happy that Netanyahu has taken it to this level right now. We'll see. But the United States role, if there is one, and there is one, because there just is, because we're us, is to call for a ceasefire and get in there and have our sleeves rolled up with the right people, whether it's in concert with the United Nations, which will, of course, have no teeth and get attacked for existing, or whatever the other countries that are Arab in nature have in terms of getting in there and helping to promote at least a ceasefire, so there could be discussions here. I don't know whether that's going to happen, but that's all I got to say. But
there you go.
You just hate it. It shouldn't happen, but it's a hell of a lot of fighting over a little bit of real estate, isn't it?
It certainly is, and it's not going to stop anytime soon.
It's just a real estate fight when you think about it. It's nothing more. If you think it's bad in LA, where someone puts a house up for $800,000 and 100 people show up and they bid it up to $1 million, if you think that's a real estate war, that's not what's going on in the Middle East.
You ain't got nothing on that. This story caught my eye over the weekend. Executives predicted Biden's big plans will flop as far as taxing the rich. They did some polls of some lobbyists and stuff who lobby on behalf of rich people in a corporation. They say, I think we can kind of avoid these tax hikes that Biden's talking about, which kind of pissed me off. But then I dove into the article, and a big part of what the Democrats are going to be running on in about 16 or 18 months when the elections, the midterms are coming up, is that the economy is poised right now, obviously, to take off, because there's a lot of pent-up demand. People are going back to work. And what these folks who are trying to kill these tax hikes are going to go for is saying, look, if you want to go ahead and do this and you want to start taxing the rich or taxing corporations at a higher rate, we're going to make the point to the public that this is money that could be invested in the economy, and it's going to prevent the economy from growing as quickly as it should have. So go ahead, Democrats. If you want to go ahead and tax the rich, we're going to come after you in the midterms and kick your ass by saying that you are trying to kill the economy. So that's going to be the case that the Democrats are going to be making in the midterms if they have any chance at all. And frankly, their backs are against the wall before we even get started, because gerrymandering, I think, has them down on 6 before we even take the field for the 2022 midterms is that a booming economy. That's going to be like one of the big selling points for the Democratic Party in 2022, correct?
Yeah. Look, we've had 40 years of various forms of trickle-down economics where the argument is made by Republicans and conservatives and libertarians that if we just keep tax rates low on rich people who already pay a disproportionate amount of all the income tax, we know that the top 1% pay 40% of all the income tax, and the lower 50% just pay 1% or 2%. Well, that's because they don't make any money at the bottom, so they don't got any money to pay. And the people at the top, they make all the money, so they've got the money to pay. So of course, that's always a distorted figure. So we've had 40 years of trickle down economics. It hasn't really trickled down. It's just been great if you're near the top, and you don't have to be in the 1%. You can be near the 1%. I'm not in the 1%, but it's been great for me for all these years. I mean, my entire working life really is the last 45 years. So I've been kind of lucky to have been born at that moment. That being said, income inequality just grew and grew and grew. It never seems to contract. Can you fix that through the tax code? Partially you can. Another word that they co-opted years ago, and this was not during the Trump administration or the Bushes or even Reagan. It goes back who knows how long, 100 years. The word redistribution is considered to be some kind of slur. Okay, we cannot have income redistribution. That is inherently unfair. Well, of course, there has been income redistribution, and it's been mostly upward in the tax code. Now, that doesn't get discussed. Right-wingers and conservatives, they're really concerned about any kind of income redistribution downward. So therefore, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, anything that benefits people more the further down the income scale you go, that is income redistribution. That is socialism. And now that's almost Venezuela. Look at Venezuela. You want America to be like Venezuela? Raise the tax rates on upper income Americans from 36% to 39%. Oh, fucking A, we're dead. Are you kidding? What's again? And you have to always actually look at the numbers and look at what Biden is proposing, because the income line is 400,000, right? He keeps saying no one under 400,000 will see their income taxes rise.
Correct.
And then if you make over 400,000, yes, it's going to go up. And therefore, if you make $1 million a year, which is 600,000 more than the 400,000, that 600,000 will be taxed at not 36%, which it is now, right? It will be at 39%. So an extra 3%, listen closely, an extra 3% on that 600,000. Gee, that's $18,000. Holy shit. I'm going to die. I'm going to have to sell the boat, sell a vacation home, take the kids out of private school, no summer camp. Fucking A. Time to buy a used car and get rid of that new car. The amount is not that. Now, it just is. It's not that big of a deal. And there were a lot higher tax rates in, check me now. When Dwight Eisenhower was the president of the United States.
When America was great. When America was
higher, the highest marginal tax rate was close to 90%, right?
Yeah.
90%. In other words, there is no correlation really between marginal tax rates, the amount you pay on the last dollar that you make if you're really, really rich, and how the economy is doing at any given moment. Is it going to cause you to somehow not invest in the stock market? It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. Now, in the short term, I can guarantee you, if suddenly the U.S. Senate decided to go along with the House, which is democratically controlled, and pass Joe Biden's income tax hike, the stock market would have a fucking heart attack for a couple days. They would. There's no doubt. That would happen. There's no doubt about it. They would act as if the world is going to come to an end, and it won't, and it would bounce right back because everyone would realize what the truth is. So these kinds of stories, oh, don't you dare fucking tax it. Oh, we'll show you. We'll move to Costa Rica.
They always do that shit. It's like the funniest thing. All right, let's laugh.
That's my tax speech.
Let's laugh and point at Matt Gaetz for a minute because he's truly screwed. Former Gates associate Joel Greenberg pleads guilty to 6 federal charges, including that are related to sex trafficking. How screwed is this guy right now?
We don't know.
How he's screwed.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do what we've said we should do in cases like this. I'm going to wait until the shit really falls on his head, because remember, we're into like year 6 of major headlines. Siren on Drudge.
Yeah.
Breaking news on CNN, blah, blah, on shit that they finally got Trump on. All right. And they never got him. Technically, they never got him. Now, he did lose the election. And yes, all these things in your heart, were true. And yes, do I think that Bob Woodward's book last year helped defeat Trump? You betcha. Absolutely. That was truth that dripped through. And people who may have voted for Trump in 2016 who changed their vote, they will never admit that's because of what was in Bob Woodward's book. But what was in Bob Woodward's book that you can think about even today is that Trump lied. Trump lied about the coronavirus early on, and he stuck with the lie, and he was worse and worse and worse and worse. And over the weekend, when Trump bitched and whined and complained that he isn't getting any credit for the vaccine, when the CDC finally lifted the mask mandate and things are going well, he's not getting any credit. And I usually like a lot Michael Smerconish, but he is full of shit on this one because he's playing but isn't Trump right? Doesn't he deserve just a little bit of credit for Operation Warp Speed and the vaccine? And the answer is, yeah, but so the fuck what? It doesn't mean anything right now. And Donald Trump shouldn't be out there whining and bitching and wanting credit and wanting statues of himself built in front of the CDC, pretending that he invented the coronavirus vaccine. And by the way, people like Smerconish, they never seem to acknowledge that it wouldn't have mattered who was the goddamn president a year and a half ago when the coronavirus became a thing. Any president, any of the other 44 would have done exactly, if not more, of the same thing that supposedly Donald Trump was surely talked into by somebody who had some sense there. Well,
but here's
you think this was his idea? You think this was ever? But okay, let's pretend it was. It doesn't matter.
Here's the difference. Every other
Forget
president.
This, I want credit shit. Fuck that.
Here's the difference. Every other president would not talk about injecting bleach into your veins. Every other president would have not have hyped hydroxychloroquine as a solution.
Here's the argument. The argument is, yes, he did all these terrible things. He was wrong about the bleach. He was wrong about masks. He was wrong to hide what he knew. But he did Operation Warp Speed, so shouldn't he get some credit? That's not how this works. And you know what? If he wasn't anything but the piece of shit that he is, when the CDC changed its policy on Thursday, was it Thursday or Friday? Thursday, he would have come out and said, "Congratulations, America. We are almost there. Operation Warp Speed was a great thing, and the American people." And he can't say that. It's just, I want fucking credit. Fuck you. Fuck you on that.
This is like Ike Turner talking about how a mortgage payment was never late. Okay, look, hey, I did a lot of bad shit, but man, that mortgage payment made it on time every single month.
Right.
What about this poll? What about this poll that was released by CBS on Sunday?
Yeah.
Is Joe Biden the legitimate winner of the 2020 presidential election? Among the Republicans who were surveyed, 67% said no. Joe Biden not the legitimate winner of the 2020 presidential election. 67, 2/3 of Republicans that were surveyed said no. He's not the legitimate winner. That's kind of a problem, isn't it?
Well, it's a problem, but I think it's more of a problem for the Republican Party.
Okay.
Or what's left of it. Okay.
Right.
Because if 1/3 of the people who are surveyed, they're willing to publicly acknowledge, at least in a poll, that Biden's the president. Well, if you lose 1/3 of your people, you're really in trouble, because elections are close. States are close.
They are.
And if you're going to campaign and you're going to have to defend as a Republican candidate at the local level, the municipal level, the statewide level, or even the Senate or presidential level, the congressional level, when you keep getting asked, is Joe Biden the legitimate president? If you have to be with your quote base, your 67% base that doesn't think Biden is the president, well, you're going to lose that election. You are going to lose, because the other Republicans, I would think a lot of them will say, I'm out. I'm at Shark Tank. I'm out. I'm done. I can't. And again, this is a slow burn. Is that a copyrighted phrase? Am I allowed to say that? Slow burn.
It's a title of a podcast. They're doing the Iraq War this season.
Right. It is a slow drip, hopefully, for America back to sanity. And that 67%, I think CNN did the same question 6 weeks, and it was 70. So it's
coming down.
It's 7 out of 10 right now.
It's trending in the right direction. It's coming down.
Right. Oh yeah. By the year 2060, we'll have it down to they have sown the seeds. They are reaping the whirlwind. And the Liz Cheney situation is emblematic.
Oh, this is one. Wait, let me do.
By the way, to her credit, we don't like her policies and stuff.
No,
but God damn it, she is so right. She is. I get to use this phrase and not be a racist. You ready? She is really articulate in expressing American values. She's so good at expressing American values as it relates to accepting the results of the election, the integrity of our system, and making sure that American democracy flourishes. She's really articulate, and I like that.
This is the last.
I would vote for her as a candidate, but she, good for her. Just good.
She's awful. Other than the fact that her policies are terrible, I would vote for her. And this is the 67% in reverse. Among Republicans, is being loyal to Trump important? The question was asked. Among those surveyed in the CBS News poll, 66% said important, 33% said not important.
Right. So that's a perfect mirror of the other poll, right?
It is.
Two-thirds or almost 70%,
right,
of people don't believe that Biden is a legitimate president, who are Republicans, and that same number believe that the only thing that matters is loyalty to Trump. And when you dig deeper into that poll, I've seen some of the results. The reason that they give, or reasons that they agree with, are all exactly the right-wing Fox News talking points in defense of Trump. Everything bad about him that they like, that he's their guy.
Right.
And I don't know whether they realize it, but Donald Trump, is he 74 or 75?
75, I think.
75. All right. And I'm going to make a prediction. He's not going to live forever. Okay. And
he'll be 75. He'll be 75 in a month.
Right. We're going to take the day off on that one, right?
June the 14th, I believe, is the man's birthday, from what I'm looking at now. June the 14th, he'll be 75 years of age.
What day is Juneteenth? The day
19th. I believe that's June 19th. I believe that's correct, because that's
uncomfortably close to Trump's birthday.
Now it is. They should combine the two.
No, somebody's got to move. Somebody's got to split. Okay.
White privilege. Donald Trump's birthday is going to have to stay where it is, I think.
Yeah. All right. We're we're done. I'm going to go to my Bill Gates marriage seminar now. I got to go.
Oh, good times.
Okay. All right.
See you.
See you tomorrow.